it's in my DNA in a way to be drawn to female stories. I just am, and there aren't enough of them anyway. And we still have this sort of alarming lack of stories about women, and certainly a lack of stories made by women. And I think I'm interested in redressing that, partly just because I want to see those stories. You know, some subjects lend themselves to documentary and some to fiction, and in a way I'm drawn to subjects, so that if I find something that where I think, oh, well, this should be a documentary, you know, these real people should tell their story, they're amazing, and you couldn't weave this into a fiction or it wouldn't be as effective, then, you know, you find the form to fit the content. If it's a not scripted documentary, then the process of editing is very like the process of developing a script, because you're finding the narratives in the edit. It felt with Suffragette particularly because it was such a story to me that felt so contemporary, that there are so many women across the world now who are dealing with similar issues, you know, and that we're still fighting many battles against inequality. That if we went in through someone who was a working woman who found her way into activism, you didn't find her at the point where she was already engaged in it. You know, you saw her journey, that would be something we would be able to connect with.
I thought I could straighten you out.
What if you don't need to?
You're a mother, Maud. You're a wife. My wife. That's what you're meant to be.
The way that women found their identity, they discovered, was through going to these political meetings and becoming politically engaged and realising that there was this sisterhood. And that was very exciting, and I think it was partly the camaraderie that drew so many women to that cause, and they made great friendships through it, and, you know, and found a whole other way of living that was thrilling to them. When we were making the film, we were aware that in some ways there were parallels between what we were doing and what the suffragettes had done. I mean, obviously they were much braver and they were working in much tougher conditions, but we were breaking with the conventions of filmmaking, where you don't often get female teams. It's really rare, in fact, to get so many female heads of department, and you very rarely get that many women on screen in major roles. So that was exciting, and I think I definitely felt inspired by the story we were telling. And I think we're still living in a time where the film industry is really male dominated, and people are afraid of anything that's got a sort of a feminist agenda or message. And so I think that's going to limit and make it harder to get made and harder to get seen if it's very, very upfront about that. But, you know, there's ways of being subversive, and also, you know, hopefully we're at this tipping point, which I keep on saying we're at, where people are now talking about the fact that we need more films about women by women. And so you hope that conversation is going to start changing things. And this is my favourite line. So it says, the first movie directed by a female was made almost 100 years ago. Since then, thousands of women around the world direct their own films. Do they? Who are those thousands? Anyway, and you could be a film director too. Just say action. My journey to directing was a little bit roundabout, because I was interested in art and drama, and I was interested in politics, but I didn't think about directing, certainly not directing fiction. It still didn't occur to me that I could direct, or that was even something I should do, until I saw the films of women. I thought, wow, there's this group of women who are making films, and I started fantasising about making films myself. So I think it is that sort of see it to be it thing that's so important, that if there's no one around you doing it, it's very hard to imagine the possibility of it. There's no kind of magic ingredients to how you make a great film, and if there was, you know, studios would be making blockbusters with successful films all the time, but they're not. But I think what can help you on the way to making a good film is certainly having a really, really great team around you, and that can be as much about the team trusting one another and also being right for the job, and just having that group where we understand each other and we speak the same language and we've built up trust was really, really helpful.